we continue to cover the Charlie Kirk saga as my reporting for the Grayzone continues to be confirmed by new revelations of private discussions that Charlie Kirk was holding days before his death with a coterie of Netanyahu cutouts, Israel First fanatics who were lobbying him constantly and attempting to push talking points on him before his tour began. I don't know if you want to intro this, Aaron, or you want me to?
It's your story. Go ahead.
Well, I had produced a 3-part investigative series on this, starting with Charlie Kirk beginning to loathe Netanyahu, feeling like he was being manipulated. The term bullying was given to me by a longtime friend of Charlie Kirk. He felt like he was being bullied. He felt like he was being blackmailed to a degree. It was moral blackmail, the term that he was actually using. But that opened up this saga. The second piece was about the Secret Hamptons Influencer Summit, where we started to learn about who was lobbying Charlie Kirk, how he was constantly being held up on Zoom calls, WhatsApp groups, text exchanges with a group of 10 or so, what I would call Netanyahu cutouts in the US, including Josh Hammer, Sean McGuire, Bill Ackman was one of them at certain intervals, and a rabbi, formerly American, now in Israel, settler rabbi named Pesach Wolicki, who runs the Israel influencer programs and propaganda tours for conservative influencers called Israel 365 Action. And they were just on his back constantly. And then in my third piece, I reported that Robert Shillman, one of the most prolific anti-Islam sugar daddies across the West, a Israel First fanatic who funds Friends of the IDF, has funded Tommy Robinson, Laura Loomer at times in her career, and was a major funder of TPUSA, who helped basically fuel Charlie Kirk's career since a young age, had bailed on him because he was going to host Tucker Carlson at a TPUSA event. And now, thanks to Candace Owens, former TPUSA employee, longtime friend of Charlie Kirk, we now know that Charlie Kirk was more angry about the way he was being treated by those he referred to as Jewish donors than we even understood from text messages that she revealed on her last live stream. And she really dropped the bomb right here. Had to stage what's happening.
Try one more time.
So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term. In my opinion, like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
So Josh Hammer, Newsweek editor at large. His job is basically to keep the Republican Party in line with Israel, conservatives in line with Israel. He's been attacking Candace constantly. He's been saying that Charlie Kirk never had any questions about supporting Israel. They dropped this digitally reproduced letter. And it wasn't just the neocons who were pushing that letter. It was certain other influencers who, we thought were hostile to Israel, but more questionable how they had been pushing the line that these neocons and Likudniks wanted us to believe about Charlie Kirk in his final days.
Well, Netanyahu also referenced a letter, right?
Yep.
That,
Yep.
you know, but he wouldn't release its contents because Netanyahu really.
Well, we now have the full letter, just to be sure.
Yeah, but Netanyahu really wanted to hammer home the message that Charlie Kirk and him were tight, and that Charlie Kirk was a supporter of Israel up until the end.
Yes. And I mean, the letter was from May. It was before a lot of things happened, like the summit where Tucker and comic Dave Smith and were on stage, and Epstein was called a Mossad agent, and Charlie Kirk started to get massive pushback. It was before the influencer summit at the Hamptons, where Charlie Kirk was yelled at by the British Zionist fanatic Natasha Hausdorff. And it was before all these exchanges, which I think took place 2 days before Charlie Kirk's death, that we just saw Candace Owens drop. And it's now these text messages, while most of them were anonymous, except Josh Hammer's name was revealed. Andrew Colvett, who's basically the comms man for TPUSA, has confirmed them as authentic.
This show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there.
So authentic. And that brings us to something possibly more disturbing, which was Josh Hammer's activity the day after that exchange took place, in which he was present, in which he witnessed that, and he's basically been covering up that exchange ever since Charlie Kirk's death, effectively lying about what was going on. This is bizarre to me and unsettling. So this is Village Crazy Lady Mel Whitty. I wonder if Josh Hammer went and dug up this 12-year-old Trump tweet before or after he and Rabbi Pesach had their last conference call with Charlie the night before he was murdered. So that was right after that text exchange where Charlie Kirk says that he's done being pro-Israel and he's sick of being bullied by Jewish donors. This is 9/9/25. Josh Hammer says it's based, digging up a tweet by Donald Trump from 2013 stating, "Should be public execution for all to see. You will end this bullshit fast." What is that about? Why do you suddenly want public execution? Like, what's going on in your mind or in your life? I don't know. It could be something else.
And so, wait, Josh Hammer posted that the night before Charlie Kirk was killed?
Yes.
So the implication there would be that he was like previewing. I mean, that's a stretch for me because that would be pretty.
Well, I didn't imply that. It's just weird.
Yeah, well, of course it's weird. I mean, these people are freaks, and that speaks to Josh Hammer being a pro-Israel fanatic, so he's going to post weird things. But to tie that to Charlie murder,
for the purpose of Aaron's edification and YouTube, you remember, like it's like saying like the vaccine works, but no, it's there's no evidence that Israel participated in this assassination of Charlie Kirk. Okay, we're not saying that. It's just weird. It's also weird that there was a 1998 film by Brian De Palma called Snake Eyes, in which on September 10th, a U.S. Defense Secretary who is about to stop a corrupt arms deal is assassinated by a Palestinian patsy controlled by military operatives, and his name is Charlie Kirkland. I mean, that's also weird. There's a lot of weird coincidences. By the way, great film. Go out and see it. Brian De Palma's, they're not.
I haven't heard of that one. I'd love to. That sounds great.
Great conspiracy theory film.
What's it called again?
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes. Yeah, I never heard.
Nicolas Cage.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of coincidences, but that's weird. But the point is, this is about what we've been talking about for most of this live stream, which is that Israel's support in the US has been collapsing. Charlie Kirk was one of the most important Gentile assets that Israel ever had, which is why Netanyahu came out immediately and sought to claim his legacy after his killing and sought to convince us that he was unequivocally on Israel's side to the end. And we know that that was changing. Something was changing there, and that Charlie Kirk was open, while he was not a supporter of Palestine, was no friend of the Palestinians, was pumping out anti-Islamic rhetoric all the time. He was opening up the stage for conservative voices who spoke to the grassroots, who were sick of Israel's influence in the United States. And it was a huge threat to the Israel lobby.
Yes.
That's the point.
And that to me is what's so important about your story. And, you know, no matter how much you loathe the American right wing and find all their views distasteful, if you care about ending the Gaza genocide, you at least have to acknowledge the significance of there being a split inside that coalition, as represented by people like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens. And if we want to end the genocide, that fissure there, that source of tension, which Charlie Kirk was, you know, according to all your reporting, was at least a part of, in the sense he was not going along with his pro-Israel donors to the point where they were threatening his funding. That's important. And, you know, that could help be part of something that could lead to some restraining force on Israel in American society. Because it's not just going to come, I hate to say, from like the activist left. There needs to be as broad a coalition of disgust at Israel as possible. And what's happening on the right, whatever you think of their views on all these other issues that we disagree on, I think is really significant. And the efforts that the enforcers go to enforce obedience and conformity by, you know, threatening Charlie Kirk's funding unless he bans certain people. That's a tactic obviously also used against the left. And so, you know, joint revulsion of that and opposition to that could be very significant.
Well, I mean, I think you're talking about the professional sectarian left that would never, for example, have lunch with Tucker Carlson. And that's why they are losers who have failed. But that doesn't mean the entire left or the entire activist left. I think there's more of a deeper consciousness among those who are actually staying in the US and fighting on this issue about building coalitions, because there are so many rifts in the right, and that the right-wing grassroots is just pretty much done with Israel for its own reasons. And there can be a major conflict with them over other issues. But on this one, it is important to build a coalition when one is coming into view.